Panibagong gera mga tol, digmaan ang nagbabadyang pumutok ngayon dahil lumulusob na mga tol ang mga warship ng Amerika patungo dito sa Venezuela, no? Ang sabi rito sa report mga tol na ating panonoorin mula rito sa FIRSTPOST, sabi rito Venezuela is back in the headlines, no? Pag-uusapan na naman sila. This time with US warships heading towards its coast. Officially, Washington says it's targeting drug cartels. Caracas, yun ang dahilan mga tol ng Amerika kung bakit sila nagpadala ng mga warship doon sa Venezuela dahil daw ang tina-target nila yung mga drug cartels. Pero yan ay hindi kinakagat o hindi pinaniniwalaan ng Venezuela. At tinawag nila itong intimidation. Maybe even regime change. Sabing ganun mga tol. President Nicolas Maduro, yun yung presidente ng Venezuela. Venezuela. Accused by the US of authoritarianism. Sabing ganun. And tries to narco-trafficking. Insist America's real goal is to destabilize his government. Nuclear submarines, guided missiles, cruisers, and Venezuelan patrols are now eyeing each other across the Caribbean. In this about cocaine, oil, or leverage, mga kapatid, no? Well, ito ang ating aalamin ngayon kasi nagtatapat na mga puwersa nila ngayon. Etong Venezuela at saka ang Amerika. Naku po, mukhang matinding to. Ang Venezuela, alam ko, located yan dun sa may banda ng baba ng ng North America, no? So ito mga kapatid, panoorin natin ito at bigyan natin ng reaction video. Mukhang panibagong kaguluhan na naman itong puputok sa ating daigdig, no? So sa kalagay rito, bakit ang US ay nagpapadala ng mga warships sa Venezuela? Bago natin to simulan, huwag mong kalimutan mag-subscribe. Click mo na rin ang notification bell para ma-notify ka whenever na may mga bago tayong reaction video tulad nito. Huwag na natin patagalin pa, panoorin na natin to mga tol. Another conflict, US warships in Venezuelan waters.
Our next story is about Venezuela, a country in South America that makes news once in a while, usually with words like oil, crisis, and Maduro.
Oo nga, sa may South America, so sa baba ng North to. Another conflict.
That's the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. This is a country of 28 million people, and right now it finds itself at the center of a showdown. A showdown with the United States of America. As we speak, US warships are sailing close to the Venezuelan coast. But what triggered this face-off? And what does it mean for Venezuela? Tonight we'll break it down, starting with the basics. This is where Venezuela is located.
Napakayaman sa langis nito mga tol, Venezuela. Sikat ng Venezuela mga tol pagdating sa langis Eto, dito banda yung Venezuela. Ito US, laki ng US. Ang liit lang ng Venezuela, no? Ngayon si Trump nagpadala ng mga warship
on the northern coast of South America. For most of the 20th century, it was known primarily for one thing, and that is oil. In fact, Venezuela sits on more proven oil reserves than Saudi Arabia.
Oh, mas marami pa kaysa sa Saudi.
So initially, it was deeply tied to US energy needs. But then politics got in the way. In the early 2000s, Venezuela became a thorn in Washington's side. Then, in 2013, Nicolas Maduro came to power. The US accused him of authoritarianism, sham elections, and gross human rights abuses. In response, Maduro accused the US of imperialism. So they've been at loggerheads for years.
So pareho silang nagpaparatang authoritarianism at imperialism. Yun ang kanilang paratang sa isa't isa.
And every once in a while, tensions flare. Right now, the US has dispatched a squadron of warships, including an amphibious group, a guided missile cruiser, and even a nuclear-powered submarine. They're all heading towards Venezuelan waters. Officially, the US says this is about combating drug cartels, those that move cocaine and other narcotics across the Caribbean into North America.
Okay, so eto yung dahilan ng Amerika kung bakit daw sila nagpapadala ng mga warships dito sa Venezuela, no? Sabi rito, US deploys warships near Venezuela to combat para labanan daw ang mga drug threat sources, sabing ganon. A separate U.S. official told Reuters that in total about 4,000 sailors and marines are expected to be committed to Trump. President Donald Trump has wanted to use the military to go after Latin America drug gangs that have been designated as global terrorists. So yun daw ang tinatarget mga tol ni Trump, kaya siya nagpadala ng mga warship no, malapit dito sa Venezuela.
The US says they are the target, but Venezuela is not buying that explanation. President Nicolas Maduro's government has sent its own warships and drones. They're patrolling the coastline. They're warning that America's show of force is actually about intimidation, maybe even regime change.
Ayun no. So naggumanti siya, nagpadala rin siya ng mga warship niya mga tol. So ito magkakaharap sa gitna ng karagatan to.
The cause we defend is too great. So regime change is not only illegal but also immoral. And here they will not succeed in colonizing or enslaving Venezuela.
Parang gusto siyang palitan mga tol. Yun ang pinaniniwalaan niya.
South America, or our America. And if one day they touch Venezuela, all of America will rise up for us, for the people of Bolivar.
So why is the US pointing fingers at Maduro? You see, for years, American officials have accused Maduro and his inner circle of being directly involved in drug trafficking. Washington calls it the cartel, the lost souls.
So sinasabi nila involved daw ito sa drug cartel, itong si Maduro. Treasury sanctions Venezuelan cartel headed by Maduro. So siyang tinuturong ulo.
The cartel of the Suns. Now this is supposed to be a military-linked network that profits from smuggling cocaine. The Trump administration just doubled down on that cartel. It increased the bounty on Maduro's head to $50 million. This is for prosecution on drug charges. And Maduro's right-hand man, Diosdado Cabello, has a 25 million tag on him.
Meron ng patong sa ulo pala itong dalawa no? Itong president ng Venezuela, si Maduro, Nicolas Maduro Moros. 50 million US dollars mga tol ang patong sa kanya, ang reward. For information leading to the arrest and or conviction of the leader of the specially designated global terrorist cartel de los Solas. Sabing ganon mga tol. So yung presidente ng Venezuela. Tapos ito yung kanang kamay niya.
Man, Diosdado Cabello, has a 25 million tag on him. Maduro, unsurprisingly, has called it all a lie. He insists that Venezuela does not even grow coca plants. That's what cocaine is made from. And he has vowed to fight back.
We will have
an important deployment of drones with different missions, citizens attention checkpoints, checkpoints for explorations and surveillance, Navy infantry patrolling through rivers, especially in the Catatumbo River that flows into the Gulf of Venezuela.
So ito ang defense minister nila.
We'll have Navy patrols in Maracaibo Lake, Navy patrols in the Gulf of Venezuela, and ships of a larger draft up north in our territorial waters.
And there's a bigger fear here. For Caracas, this feels like history repeating itself. The US has a long record of intervening in Latin America, sometimes directly, sometimes through covert operations. Maduro's government argues that the real goal is not to bust cartels, but to destabilize and topple the regime. And it's not an outlandish fear.
So yun ang pinaniniwalaan ng Venezuela. Hindi talaga drug cartel ang pakay ng Amerika. Kumbaga palitan yung regime dyan. No?
Washington has already tried what they call the maximum pressure approach in recent years. There have been sanctions, oil embargoes, and recognition of an opposition leader, Juan Guaido. None of it has worked. Maduro is still in power, and now US warships are at his doorstep. So what does Washington really want? Is this really about cocaine, about fentanyl in US cities, or is it about squeezing Maduro into a corner? Most experts say the US does not want a war in Venezuela. A full-scale invasion would be messy and costly.
Yeah.
It will also be deeply unpopular in Latin America. What Washington does want is leverage, something to push Maduro towards negotiations or concessions.
So yun ang gusto ng Amerika, no? Cornerin itong si Maduro, maipit hanggang sa makipagnegosasyon sa Amerika.
Something to push Maduro towards negotiations or concessions. What makes the current standoff especially dramatic is the military hardware involved. Nuclear submarines in the Caribbean are not an everyday sight. Venezuela has already written to the United Nations. It calls this a serious threat to regional peace and security. So even if this is posturing, the imagery is powerful and dangerous. We'll be tracking this one closely for you.
Alam naman natin mga tol, ang Amerika war freak talaga 'to eh. Pag sinabi nilang ano ka, yari ka talaga eh. So eto nga mga tol, no, wag naman sana magsimula ang gera dito. Pero hindi naman daw kasi masyadong kilala etong Latin America at saka Amerika bilang talagang naglalaban at naggegera. No, at sinasabi ng iba na hindi naman talaga to gegerahin ng Amerika o sasakupin dahil magastos 'yon at saka makalat, no, Messi. Talagang tinagalog no, makalat. So ang balak lang ng Amerika mga tol, lipitin, cornerin itong si Maduro na mapilitan na makipagnegosasyon sa kanila. So ngayon mga tol, ito nga abangan natin. Ito ba'y panibagong puputok na naman na digmaan na gera mga tol sa ating daigdig, no, sa makabagong panahon na parang kaliwa kanan, alam mo, kabilaan mga tol ang nangyayaring mga kaguluhan ngayon. Ito ba'y dadagdag na naman sa listahan na mga bansa na maglalaban-laban mga tol? Yan ang ating aabangan. Alright, maraming salamat sa inyong panonood hanggang sa muli. Ako nga pala si Shobal D. Peace out.